There's a new report helping you as a gig worker. Doesn't matter when you're watching this. And frankly, if you just started your side hustle in the gig economy, you know those different side hustle apps? I want you to watch this video. If this is the first time you and I are meeting, my name is Mike, coming to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've started first my gig work journey in 2015 with Rideshare, food delivery platforms, and I've since done most every single major gig app and niche out there with thousands of trips and transactions. And this new report from the company Gridwise in our three-part series today, specifically talking about probably the most important thing that you care about. This is the video to watch, and I'll leave the other videos linked in this series down below in the description. Pay, base pay, customer tips, bonus pay. This report is going to tell us everything you want to know in 2025 and beyond. So let me know where you're watching from, in the live chat or the replay. What city? What's your favorite maybe gig app right now? Now, it is from what we're talking about today, from this Gridwise report, fresh data for 2025. Now, if you're not familiar with Gridwise, they're a mileage tracking and expense app, a great way to track your miles, your income, your expenses, your trend analysis as a driver. We have a link for you in the live chat in the pinned comment down below. Now, just so you know that this is some legit research here, this company Gridwise did a study of 171 million trips, okay, 260,000 drivers covering 603 million miles and over 1.9 billion earnings last year in 2024. So this is an aggregate of so much helpful data. But today, in part two, again, a three-part series, I invite you to watch all of this to get the insights here. We're talking about pay. We're talking about the base pay, as you can see here from their report, bonus pay, and customer tips. Lean in for this. Grab a snack, grab a drink, because you're going to want to see this data so you can make data-driven decisions about your gig economy strategies. Now, looking at base pay, number one, I'm going to go into their data and give you some context really that you can't get anywhere else based on almost 10 years of experience in this gig economy. Look at what this report says about base pay. And let me know if you agree with this. Let me know what parts of this stand out to you, maybe some unlocks or some aha moments for you. And especially, you should be looking at different niches, different apps. Look at what the apps and niches are doing here. Parcel delivery services led in base pay reliance, I should say. How much are you relying on just base pay? Base pay is the company's contribution, like how much Spark will pay you, or Flex, or DoorDash, whatever it is. 96.1% of earnings derived from fixed compensation for the parcel delivery platforms. 96%. So if you're driving, maybe you like Amazon Flex, or let's say Roadie, which are two platforms that Gridwise considered here as parcel services. You're just relying on the pay that they give you, and that's it, 96%, just base pay. Rideshare. Maybe I do Uber and Lyft. Those were the platforms I first started in. Again, here in Pittsburgh, 2015, Uber, and then I added Lyft. If you drive on Rideshare, you're relying on 82.5%. Based on Gridwise's stats here. That doesn't leave much other room for what? Tips and bonus pay. So start to understand, if you're relying on base pay, the company's contribution, that's kind of locked in for what they're going to give you. You're not going to get as much tips and as much bonus pay. So is that the best platform for you? We'll see here. Maybe yes, maybe no. Grocery delivery services followed next. 52.9% of earnings coming from base pay. And then food delivery drivers showed the least reliance on base pay at 44.3%. So what is that telling us? There's certain niches where I'm just going to rely on what the company's going to pay me, this base pay. But is that the best strategy? Because again, what about the other side of the equation? It's usually a three-pronged approach: base pay, promotions, and tips. So looking back at the data here, at the bottom there, if I'm relying on, let's say 44% of food delivery, then that leaves a wide margin to make more money that is not stagnant. They literally say here, fixed compensation at the top of that paragraph. You have more flexibility to earn customer tips and then capitalizing on bonus pay. Now, as we move on here, looking at customer tips, I'm going to show you a valuable graphic here in a little bit that kind of culminates all this all together here. Tips made up the highest share of earnings for food delivery drivers. So like I said, if you're relying less on base pay, opens up the door for more customer tips. That means good customer service can be rewarded. Handed to me deliveries with good customer service, professionalism, and presentation can be rewarded. But the reason you're watching this video, that doesn't tell the whole story about tips. So take this data here, and I'll give you a little bit more flavor on my idea here in a second. And it contributes to 53% of their income for food delivery drivers. Now, grocery, what is grocery? It's Instacart, it's Shipped. Those are platforms that primarily, I'm going to go into a grocery store, shop for the customer's order. I got to go in there I'm like, is this thing of strawberry, is that mold? Okay, that's mold. I'm gonna grab another one. And you have to pick out the best produce and it stands to reason. You know how to shop for groceries. I assume you shop for groceries, but then you just check out and deliver to the customer. Grocery platforms also benefit significantly from tips. 45.7% of earnings are from tips. But by contrast, rideshare drivers deriving just 10% of their income from tips. So imagine you have the added liability, and I've done this, and primarily when I was driving rideshare, it was nights, it was weekends from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. I had a lot of nights where I didn't get a lot of sleep for my day job the next day. But you have the added risk, let's be real here, of passengers in the car. You have navigating the roads. You have additional obligations and risks. And yet, Gridwise's data says, hey, you're only getting 10% of your income from tips. And folks, I see in the live chat, hey, if you missed the live chat, click that notification bell. As always, we'll take a Q&A after this video. Shout out to Jose, Mr. Reliable, with the 99-cent super sticker. If you missed the live, again, would love to have you be here. Click that notification bell. Also, so you don't miss that Q&A after this video. Parcel delivery drivers relied on tips the least. Just under 4% of your total earnings from tips. But why is that? If you don't know, if you drive for Amazon Flex or Roadie, why does this data say you're only getting 3.9% of your earnings from tips? If you don't know that answer, or if you're kind of unsure, I'll let you know exactly why here. And tips are very important for your earnings. Bonus pay. Now, what can bonus pay look like? I actually just updated our Side Hustle Starter Guide, and in that spreadsheet, it details now 85 plus side hustles. So if you're unsure where to start, get that Side Hustle Starter Guide. yourdrivermight.com/starter guide. 85 different gigs across most every single niche you can think of in this gig economy. But it talks about, obviously qualifications, but the different types of bonuses. Well, there's per delivery bonuses. So I get a extra, typically dollar amount after completing an assignment, a delivery, or a ride. There's batched bonuses. And actually, I just did a great video on a DoorDash challenge, which is a batched bonus, where you'll get a bonus, but only after you complete satisfying batch, whatever it is. Complete 10 deliveries, complete 8 rides, completes 10 shops. That's a batch. Now, there can also be hourly bonuses, earned by time, let's say, or maybe Amazon Flex adds, in essence, a per hour bonus on a shift. So let's get into bonus pay. And hey, if you're getting value in this video, drop a like. And all I do is help you make money in different side hustles. Consider subscribing. We'll love to have you be here. Bonuses played a minor role across all sectors. Is that surprising to you? Bonus pay in 2020, well, this is 24 data going into 2025, played a minor role. Do we want it to play a minor role? I'm thinking about platforms like Poplin that say quite outrightly that bonus pay is not a good thing for their independent contractors, because they say you don't want bonus pay because it leads to more competition or higher prices for customers. I get that. But I'm helping you as an independent contractor, gig worker. We like bonus pay. But then other apps like Uber in their quarterly earnings calls always talk about, hey, we're shaving off bonus pay. We're tapering down bonus pay. The percent of trips with bonus pay is now in the teens. That's where we want it. So there's a tug of war here with bonus pay. Rideshare drivers saw the highest contribution at 5.5%. 2.2% of earnings came from bonus pay for food delivery. Think Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub. Only 1.4% for grocery deliveries. And then parcel delivery, again, are you driving on Amazon Flex or Roadie? Let me know. Those drivers reported no bonuses, reinforcing the sector's reliance on base pay. So I hope you're starting to piece this together, where if I'm going to drive on a platform that is just base pay, what does that mean? If I drive on a platform that has base pay and let's say, okay, decent tips, proportionately, what does that mean? Or a platform with more bonus pay. So something has to give. Something has to give, and you have to consider different strategies based on literally this of how much money you're getting from bonus pay. But remember, what is even bonus pay on Parcel? So look here, this is a report from Gridwise, folks. I encourage you to check them out. I've been using them for a little bit now, and I actually just upgraded to their Gridwise Plus plan. It'll help you track your earnings as a gig worker, really regardless of the app. I've linked to I don't even know, 15 or maybe more different gig apps. So it'll have automatic earnings tracking on that Plus plan, automatic mileage tracking on the Plus plan. Now, what I like about Gridwise is they have a straight up free version as well. It's not some of the apps that I've worked with, and I did partner with Gridwise to bring this video to you, full disclosure there, but I've worked with apps that have a free trial, which is nice, but it's quite limited. So Gridwise has a complete actual free version, so you don't have to worry about it expiring, and it still has features you would actually like to use. But for peace of mind, making your workflow a little bit easier, faster, I'd consider getting that Gridwise Plus plan. It's a business expense, and it's a good investment in your gig business. But bonus pay on Amazon Flex, it is adding extra pay to a shift, typically right as the shift start time is approaching. So on Amazon Flex, I know it's a lot to learn, Mike. It's all right, the Flex, the hourly pay per delivery. Exactly. That's why I hope you're following here. Because frankly, some of this data tells me that some of these workers are doing things wrong. So Amazon Flex, they will add additional pay, sometimes not guaranteed, closer to the shift start time. We're talking Amazon.com warehouse runs. There's also, there is scheduled shifts on Amazon Fresh grocery runs, but the bread and butter, no pun intended, is those Amazon.com warehouse runs. And they'll add pay. Let's say they need drivers at 12 p.m. and it's 11:30 and they need drivers for that shift. they may make a, let's say, $20 an hour shift, 22. And then 5 minutes go by, they're like, we need a driver, $24 an hour. So interesting that they report no bonuses when technically there is some incentive pay, but it might be classified a little bit different here. So look at this data right here. Wonderful graphic. Again, this is from Gridwise. Shout outs to them. That this is the graphic of each niche in the gig economy and how it relates to your reliance on base pay, tips, and bonus pay. Take a good look at this. Now, you'll see as we go through this together, I provided some more insights. So I added that text that says one-to-one. What does that mean? So a one-to-one in your earnings is equal parts base pay and tips. Well, Mike, look at retail. Retail is like a 2-to-1 or whatever that is. I'm not a math person, so help me out in the comments. 63% for retail offers are base pay. And then only a third of your earnings come from tips. And it gets worse and worse. Rideshare, 82% from base pay, 10% from tips. So what does that do? That does not reward you for good customer service. It doesn't reward you for being a problem solver if the customer has questions, the customer encounters an issue or whatever it may be. So with more base pay reliance, you might be, frankly, more at the mercy of the company because they're the ones that determine base pay. Remember, all base pay is the company's contribution. Like for instance, DoorDash, it's a minimum of $2 to $10. That is their base pay. So when you see that offer card on DoorDash, their minimum payout is $2. They might do $3. It's based on desirability, distance, time, effort, determines where in that scale, $2 to $10, the base pay is. Now, imagine you're working for parcel platforms or ride sharing platforms where it's like 3-to-1 or more, like 96% to 4% parcel, where you don't get rewarded for tips. That takes away even more control for you as the independent contractor, because there's already some limits to control here, but you still have freedoms as an independent contractor. But moving on from that, look at the bonus pay. These apps arguably lean into this, please, and drop a like on this video right now if you can for what I'm about to say. Hopefully this is going to be an aha moment for you right here. This is, in my opinion, since doing gig work almost 10 years now, some of the lowest numbers, at least based on Gridwise data. This is just one place to get your data. This is probably some of the lowest proportions of pay that we've seen from bonus pay. When I started 2015, lots of bonus pay. Uber Eats Surge, Lyft Prime Time, whatever it's going to be, even peak pay on DoorDash. So this is why nowadays you have to understand why an app is as it is, where does the pay come from, and what you can do to change and encourage it for the better for you. So I want you to have a one-to-one so you can have more control. You can influence your pay for the better. You can get rewarded for expertise, problem solving, good customer service. Instead of saying, I don't know, the worker that doesn't know how to problem solve, the customer is not going to reward them. The worker that is not prepared with simple things, like little simple things, food presentation, food handling. You have a pizza bag, maybe when someone else doesn't. You know the best roads to avoid traffic or construction on rideshare. You know the best substitutions on grocery and how to navigate a store quickly and contact the customer to make that process seamless. That's when you get rewarded with a tip for solving a problem plus good customer service. But let's move on. I am loving this data. I mean, I know we're deep in the weeds here. Let's just take a second. I know we're deep in the weeds of data, but I mean, this report is exactly what I've wanted to see. That, of course, I have data for you. I have my anecdotal data and I do shifts for you and I try out, what's the word? Tenured apps and then new gig apps as well. That's all I do here. But to see some deep data like this, wonderful comparison. Now let's target by niche. So now what Gridwise did is they took their data and they simply narrowed it by niche. What is base pay, bonus pay, and tips doing within rideshare, food delivery, grocery, and retail? Wonderful area here to see. Lean into this if you're driving on any of these niches, or frankly, if you're considering any of these niches. So you don't even have to be doing this right now. Look at what each of these niches are doing right now in 2025. Insights for rideshare. Base pay. It's Uber and Lyft, right? It's like a two-person party here. It's Uber and Lyft, basically, in the rideshare space. Lyft's base pay made up 78% of total earnings in 2024, down from 84% the year prior. Uber's base pay remained the majority of earnings, increasing slightly from 82% to 83%. So all that's telling us is Lyft's base pay is going down in proportion to the total pay that you would get. You get less of it from base pay. Tips. For Lyft drivers, tips accounted for 9% of earnings, down 1% from 10%. And then Uber drivers saw no change, a concurrent 11% of their earnings for both years. So, okay, tips kind of off the table. Nothing changed really from tips for either driver here. Bonus pay. Bonuses made up a growing share of Lyft drivers' earnings, increasing from 5%, jumping up 6% all the way to 11% in 2024. While Uber's bonus pay for their drivers remained unchanged. So my question here, I asked, why does Lyft they're offering less base pay and they're cranking up the bonus pay? Think about that. Why would Lyft offer less base pay, but they're offering more bonus pay? Well, sweet. I mean, more bonus pay. That sounds pretty good, right? That's, in my opinion, a red flag that is continuing to wave for the company that is, as we see here, behind in the market share game. Market share just means the percent, like foothold, either measured in sales, customers, driver volume, orders offered, who has more of what, basically. This is earlier in Gridwise's report right here. And it said Uber's market share increases 6% since January of 2023. Well, I mean, Mike, 6%. I mean, that's no, 6%. We're talking about the entire customer base, the market, and the share. They've gained 6%. When? That is a good amount of market share. Only since January 2023. Now, 2 years, but this data is even before that because this was concluding at the end of 2024. So Uber is taking market share away fast from Lyft. And now 70% market share in 2023. That grew to 76% last December 2024. So what does this tell us about, again, what is going on with Lyft? Here's the actual stat that I just told you about illustrated. So it's illustrating the point that the base pay, you can see here, left to right, 84 dropped to 78. And then tips, ignore that. It basically remained unchanged for everybody. But then bonus pay went up 5 to 11%. Why? If you're driving in the rideshare space, here's why. Lyft is struggling. They're losing market share. They don't have the driver numbers even. They can't even rely on, we got 6 million drivers. They don't. They have nowhere near 6 million drivers. Uber has quite exponentially more drivers and couriers because they're a cross-platform, cross-niche platform and company. Lyft does not. Lyft only does rideshare. They're losing market share. They are offering less base pay and more bonus pay, in my opinion, to try to get some drivers back to Lyft, try to take some market share away, look like a better platform. Lyft is recently piloting new rewards incentives in some marketplaces that went out via email a couple of weeks ago. It's not on their official macro blog, but I've seen localized emails going out. Lyft is trying to basically not sink. I think they're treading water right now. I said this before. I don't know how confident I feel about Lyft, let's say in 10 years. Now, there's also regulations against monopolies. So we'd have to see what plays out here as far as the mobility space. But in my opinion, look, Lyft has 1.3 million drivers. This was an article, I believe at least 2023, maybe 2024, that I pulled this article. This is a statement from a Lyft representative directly saying, hey, we got about 1.3 million drivers. Now, I told you, Uber is quite different, and they are. Look at this. 7 million monthly drivers and couriers. But listen, even if you divided that number in half, even if you're talking 3.5 million, because let's assume half do mobility, half do Uber Eats courier. I mean, that's not even the case because a lot of drivers are, oscillating back and forth between different niches. Lyft has 1.3. And they only do rideshare, and they're getting priced out of a lot of marketplaces. They are probably losing more per ride than Uber. That's just my own thoughts on that. That's speculative right there. But the volume's just not there. So I think it's really going to be interesting to see if you're in the rideshare space, and especially if you're just, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but if you happen to just be doing Lyft, or you just signed up for Lyft, you're like, I'll wait on Uber. I would start to get familiar with that platform now, because they're at least a long-term future. I think they'll be fine in the short term. Their long-term future is a little rocky, in my opinion. So now, as you can see here, let's move to food delivery. And before I do that, what's been your biggest takeaway so far? Let me know in the live chat or the comment section. Is Lyft struggling as much as possibly we think it is? Going back to the proportion of our one-to-one platforms, how do you think food delivery is? Because Gridwise says, based on their data, you can try them again, check out the pinned comment or the link in the live chat. But how is food delivery with base pay and tips? Do you feel like you have more control with platforms that kind of let you influence tips more, that rely less on just only base pay and maybe don't encourage tips as much? Very interesting to think about. Now, if you drive on food delivery platforms, listen to the following here. Spark drivers. Now, I know I read this and I'm thinking well, Spark is not really food delivery. Spark is grocery delivery and it's retail delivery. So if I can get any clarification on some of this data, check for it in that pinned comments after this video. But okay, all intents and purposes, let's look at this Gridwise data for what it is. Spark drivers' base pay accounted for 63% of total earnings. DoorDash and Grubhub, a slight increase to 44 and 45% of earnings. Instacart to 51%. Uber Eats declining by 1% as far as base pay. Tips in the food delivery space. Spark saw an increase, 37% of your earnings came from tips. DoorDash and Instacart, 53% and 49% respectively. So that one-to-one that we talked about. Grubhub, also a one-to-one, 51%. Uber Eats increasing marginally by 1%. Bonus pay. DoorDash, 4% bonus pay. Grubhub, 6% to 4% drop there. Instacart, Spark, and Uber Eats had little to no bonus earnings. And again, that's something I'm really interested in. And let's look at the chart for what we just went over here. So look at now, this is specifically for food delivery. Look at the proportionality of DoorDash's base pay in the 40s, tips around the 50s, basically for everybody. Look at this. Here's the biggest takeaway for base pay and food delivery. Basically everyone in food delivery is a one-to-one. That's not exact, but we can see 40s, 46, 50, and then look at tips. It's all a one-to-one, except for Spark. Spark, 63% base pay, tips are like 30s, right? So I don't think I would really include Spark as a food delivery platform here. And again, if I can get some clarity on that data, I will. Now, another thing that I found very interesting, look at the bonus pay. Now, I've noticed, and I've talked with you, our team members, consider subscribing, we'd love to have you part of the team here, that the bonus pay on any platform, it has been going down in the last 10 years. The proportionality, the percent of your pay coming from bonus pay, it is concretely gone down in the last 10 years based on any niche. I don't think we can really argue that. But look, to see it this low in the 4s and Uber Eats in the 1s, I'm very curious about that data. And again, this is data from, what was it? 260,000 drivers, 171,000, I'm blanking on the numbers, 171 million trips or whatever it was. You can rewind the stream. I don't want to cycle back through all our slides just for that. But they had a lot of data behind this. It's very interesting to see. So now I want to do a poll with you. Who has the best combo of base pay? Base pay will say tips and bonuses. So what I want you to do, if you're watching live, is vote in the poll that's going up here in just a second. And it's going to be by niche. So don't think about this as app. Think of this as niche. Which one has the best balance? Is it food delivery, rideshare, grocery, or parcel? Who has the best combo of base pay, tips, and bonuses? So let's put that poll live for 60 seconds. And I want to hear your thoughts. And if you're watching on the replay, just comment down below. Comment what niche has the best combo of base pay, tips, and bonuses. Is it food delivery, rideshare, grocery, or parcel? And for parcel, let's just assume Gridwise's definition that parcel means Amazon Flex and Roadie. I mean, that's kind of a fair bet. Roadie can do other things, but it's not really food delivery. So it's parcel. And Walmart, Spark, they're grocery and retail. I wouldn't really classify that as like parcel. Parcel means ordering stuff typically from a store. So yes, let's keep that definition. Parcel being Amazon Flex and Roadie. Now, there's some other great parcel kind of in the LTL or less than truckload space, and even kind of the moving space where, I've seen let's leave this up here. I want to get your answers in just a little bit here in the live chat, or type this down below in the comments, that in the LTL space, there's Bungie. There's even, frankly, routed deliveries, freight, dispatch, bellhop. Trying to think of some other LTL providers. But you get the point. So let's see what you said. What niche in the gig economy has the best combo of base pay, tips, and bonuses? And in that poll right now, and it is quite close. So if you didn't get those votes in, do it right now. And let's end the poll here. And with an initial sample size, it's kind of split, with rideshare being number one at 33%. Food delivery, grocery, and parcel actually all with 22% respectively. So compare that with the data that we're going to see here today. Speaking of grocery though, let's turn our attention to grocery and then we'll look at retail. Specifically talking about the base pay, bonuses, and tips. So here's Gridwise's data on specifically grocery. Let's look at Instacart and Shipt. Now, we'll also see other providers in here. So for instance, Grubhub's proportion of base pay for grocery deliveries rose 46% all the way up to 59%. So if we look at things like, let's say DoorDash remains stable, 54%, what's really interesting is how this was delineated. And I'm really curious to get some more insights on this because as you know, I mean, DoorDash can do retail, they can do food delivery, and they can do grocery. So I'm really curious. So come back to this video. We'll get some more context on that. Considering the data, is the data, I would assume, only looking at grocery runs? It has to on DoorDash, which means it would have to segment out just the grocery offers. And then considering this calculation just off of those offers that are only grocery. That's how I would assume this data will be taken. Instacart base pay at 47%. Spark and Uber Eats saw minor declines. Spark dropping to 68%. Uber Eats to 57%. Now look at this here. If you're interested in grocery, look at this next section here. If you want to do Instacart or Shipt, Instacart drivers earned the largest portion of earnings from tips, rising from half, 52% to 53%. Why? Now, I've said this, I've done like every single app here, and I've done Instacart and Shipt. And I've said in the grocery space, I am not very bullish. I'm not very in favor of Instacart and Shipt being a shopper, but tips can be quite good. They can be quite good because the customer knows. I mean, I know, like, I think all of us have, those bad stories, right? Check out my recent DoorDash challenge video to see a recent story. We all have bad stories, but on the macro, most customers, like, they appreciate you're going to a store, you're shopping for Linda's kidney beans. Okay, is this the kidney beans? All right, well, strawberries. Okay, the chipped ham. And you're like shopping for a customer's order. They get it. And you're picking out the produce. You're waiting in line. Oh, this isn't, hey, y'all beef franks are out of stock, Linda. Can you get the ballpark or out? Would you like Nathan's instead? And then you're putting it in a bag, and then you're like lugging 20 delivery bags or whatever it is, maybe not that many, like 15 Walmart bags in your hand. I mean, that's kind of why I encourage you to get either grocery hooks or a rolling cart. So check out our affiliate, Amazon storefront for some of those accessories. But honestly, I think they know you're putting in a lot of work. So when Gridwise says Instacart shoppers are earning 53% of earnings from tips, I think there's something to that, but is it worth it? Those are the questions we're going to answer today. DoorDash, 43% from tips. Still pretty good. I mean, it's, again, we're close to that one-to-one that we want. Spark, 32%. Uber Eats, 43% of earnings from tips, respectively. This is specifically talking about grocery now. Bonus pay. Grubhub, 6% from bonus pay. And then bonuses remained minimal across other platforms. So here's the graphics for grocery specifically. A little more varied, right, than food delivery. We don't see the direct correlation of the one-to-one that we talk about for grocery. So what does that mean for you? If I was interested in grocery, where would I go? There's Instacart. Now, notably, for whatever reason, this data from Gridwise, we don't see Shipt on here. The Target-owned Shipt, which is a competitor to Instacart, and that is basically solely grocery shopping. So you'll have to consider that as well. But you see things like DoorDash, 54% base pay to 43%. It's close to a one-to-one, but look at Grubhub, 59% there in orange to 35% with tips, but then higher base pay. Now, Spark, there in blue, I think can actually make an argument for grocery. Because I told you, I don't really see Spark as a food delivery platform, but they certainly do grocery. There's curbside and there's shop and deliver. Like, yeah, there's general merchandise stuff in the Walmart, but a good amount of them are combined with grocery or they're only grocery. So it's a little hybrid, but I'd be okay with including Spark on grocery. But still, Spark is 68% base pay, only 32% of tips on Spark. Why would that be? Okay, well, it's a Walmart. Is there something to be said? Let me know in the live chat or the comments if you agree with this. Is it that it's a Walmart customer? I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there for you. Is it the Walmart customer that's not tipping as much? Are they not encouraged to tip as much as Grubhub, Instacart, or Shipt? Especially Instacart and Shipt. Why is base pay 68% and 32% for base pay and tips respectively? But that's grocery delivery. I want to move on to retail though. So the same data now focusing on retail. And I put a note in here. We see the same apps, but it's a different niche. So like I just told you, how is Grubhub, again, okay, here's DoorDash. We're pulling out just retail offers. We're pulling out just grocery offers. We're pulling out just food delivery offers. So I'll follow up with you on that. But still, we'll take a look at the data for what it means right here. Talking about retail offers. What is retail? It's just like stuff. It's not grocery. It's not going to the grocery aisle. It's not going to a restaurant for food delivery. Retail is going to like a CVS, a PetSmart, a Walgreens, a GNC, stuff like, retail, other stuff, right? Instacart, the lowest among retail delivery services, remaining at 47% base pay. DoorDash, 60%. These are retail offers only now. So this is going to tell us, okay, what's the best niche? Because I just asked you, what's like the most fair niche here? Grubhub, 73%. Spark, 71% base pay. Uber Eats, 65% of your earnings came from base pay, specifically on retail offers. Now, tips. Instacart drivers earned the highest proportion of tips. Now, didn't we just see that back here in grocery? So Gridwise's data says Instacart might be a great opportunity for grocery, specifically for tips. Okay, if you want to target tips, if you feel like you have great customer service, you can master the platform, grocery, but then also retail. Isn't that interesting? But also keep in mind, how do we segment retail, and does Instacart do as much true retail like not grocery stores? No, Instacart does mainly do grocery stores, but still, like regardless, if you're someone who specializes in good communication, service, and customer service, Instacart, possibly based on this data here, might be a good opportunity for you. And I talked about how customers kind of recognize that on Instacart and Shipt. Now on bonus pay, still, look, there's low bonus pay. So here's the breakdown for retail. And again, what I want you to pay attention to is the corresponding app. It's based on color. And then the proportion of, is it a 1-to-1, 60 to 38 for DoorDash, 73 to 25 for Grubhub, right? We're not seeing a lot of 1-to-1 other than Instacart. Instacart is actually a more favorable 1-to-1 because it's 47% to 52% base pay to tips. So that echoes, obviously, the data that we just saw from Gridwise, where you can be rewarded more on tips, where just over half your earnings might come from tips. So now let's look at Parcel. And we defined Parcel. This is going off of Gridwise's data. Make sure to check them out. Click that link in the live chat or the description. I've been using Gridwise for a bit now, tracking my earnings. Syncing my apps, super easy to sync your apps. Like you log in on the app, syncs it automatically. You don't have to do anything fancy or be tech savvy to sync your apps. It's all done automatically. You can track your miles manually for free, which is nice. And if you want some of the automatic syncing, tracking, if you want it to sync more often, you can get the Gridwise Plus plan, which is great. I mean, for the nominal cost that you're going to invest every single month as a business expense, I think it's wonderful to see where the areas of opportunity are, as well as some other data like, well, what am I averaging per trip? So you're not going to know unless you have something to track your earnings. So Gridwise can do that for you. Pretty neat. And also founded in Pittsburgh, by the way. Here, where I'm coming to you from. Pretty neat. So looking at Parcel, this is Amazon Flex and Roadie. Base pay, 96%. Look, right there. 96 at the top. We're looking at base pay. 96% of courier pay is coming from company contributions, base pay on Amazon Flex. Roadie, it is 98% base pay. But that's not all bad. It is not all bad. So with tips, Amazon Flex tips are at 4%, not a lot. And then Roadies, it actually fell from 4% to 2%. A platform that only pays you in tips, base pay, a platform that only pays you in base pay with next to no tips, why is that not always bad? You're watching this video to find out what these apps are doing based on the data from at least, one researcher here, but also to maybe see what fits best for you. So an app that pays you primarily in base pay with little to no customer tips, and it says 0% bonus pay, okay, for both of them. What kind of platform is that? That is simply a platform that provides you predictable pay. So a platform that does not offer you any really tips. Yeah, there's tips on Amazon Fresh runs, but that platform is offering you more consistent, predictable pay. And that's what Amazon Flex does. I told you it pays you by the shift. It'll say like $22 an hour. And yes, they might have incentive pay. Maybe that incentive pay is not being included in like traditional bonus pay as we think about it, but there is some incentive pay kind of on the back end. Amazon does it. It doesn't even say it's bonus pay. That's probably why. They just increase the pay on the shift. But then, yes, you don't get tips on Amazon.com warehouse runs. So you're like, oh, well, no, I can see here how, Amazon has no tips. And there's also no other bonus pay. You're locked into your pay, but it's predictable. So for the next 4 hours, because shifts are 2 to 4 hours on .com warehouse runs, I'm guaranteed it's never going to change. I'm guaranteed to make like whatever it is. You sign up for a shift that's 22, 24 an hour. And it can be as low as 15. Don't do Amazon Flex for 15. The lowest starting hourly here in Pittsburgh is 18 an hour. That's anecdotal. But if you're starting to get to $20 to $24 plus per hour, you might like Flex. I'm not going to go deep into Flex here because there's also some cons with their routing and navigation. But that is a platform that, again, has no bonus pay, no tips, but all base pay. So here's base pay. Here's what it looks like. Look at this chart. Amazon Flex and Roadie, all base pay. No customer tips, no bonus pay. It's basically all base pay. So you have to think about, well, I'm not going to have any chance to earn a tip or bonus pay, but I have the pay given to me ahead of time. How much do I value that? But then there's also things like, okay, well, and this is where I'm adding a little bit of flavor on top of the Gridwise data here. Amazon Flex might be more effort. It's probably guaranteed to be more stops per hour. It could be navigation issues. You might be, delivering more towards businesses, also, homes, apartments, condos, townhomes. But this also could be like stuff for businesses. You can't get in the gate, the business is closed. But then primarily, you don't know where you're going until you get to that warehouse. So there's that. But it's guaranteed pay. Let's move on. Hey, I hope that was value added there. Going over the base pay trends for grocery, retail, rideshare, food delivery, and parsing it out by niche. Again, this data provided by Gridwise. Appreciate them partnering with the channel to bring you this data here today. Drop a like in this video if you appreciate this deep insights to the data so you can make smarter decisions on your own side hustle. My name is Mike, helping you make money in different side hustles since 2017 here on YouTube, doing my own gig work since 2015. I hope you're here in October as we celebrate 10 years in the gig economy. Pretty crazy, huh? But let's move on to customer tips. Something that can heavily influence your pay here by rewarding the good customer service and expertise and problem solving that we talked about. So take a look here. Favor, let me know in the live chat or the comments if you'd like me to do a video on Favor. I believe only Texas based. I mean, I know Texas is massive, one of the top like 5 performing states basically. But the Favor delivery platform, drivers earned 73 to 79% of their income from tips. So now it's the inverse. We just talked about Amazon Flex, who is like all base pay and no tips. What about the inverse? And this is exactly why you have to decide like what works for you and your marketplace. What about the inverse? Favor, like, dude, I'm making 79% of my earnings from tips. It's crazy. I'm getting all these tips. But is that a good or bad thing? It might not be a good thing. I'll tell you why. 50 to 60%, GoPuff, Instacart, Grubhub, DoorDash, and Uber Eats, of those courier or worker earnings come from tips. That is the sweet spot that I like. I like that one-to-one. So I'm not relying too much on the company. I'm not relying on my own performance. I hope it's a hand it to me so I can show them how prepared I am so I can get a good customer tip. It's a one-to-one. It's decently balanced there. But it also leaves some room for bonus pay, albeit every niche has like lower bonus pay, but at least, maybe I can get some bonus pay. Now, Spark, 30% of your earnings came from tips. So that leans a little more towards the base pay. And then Uber and Lyft, as we detailed earlier in the video, it's a very low amount coming from tips. Now, this is based on Gridwise's data. If you disagree with any of this data, keep in mind this is just one testing market. This is based on their driver analytics. So it doesn't necessarily reflect all the drivers in the nation. This was a sample size based on their Gridwise users, 260,000 drivers though. So at the very least, a good sample size. 4% of tips from Flex, and then even less from Roadie. As we just detailed, they're heavily on base pay. But higher percent of tips may not be good. You're like, all right, well, Mike, I don't know what to do anymore, man. I mean, like you're detailing companies that only base pay, but then you're telling me that companies that only do tips might not be good either. It's just something to consider. Okay, just consider the following. To quote the throwback from Bill Nye there, let me know if you get that reference. Consider the following. This data from Gridwise says the highest percent of pay from tips Favor, like we talked about, that Texas-based company. GoPuff, a high percent of this. That will actually measuring the average percent of pay per trip that are coming from tips. Now look here. Favor is a high percent of their pay. I just showed you, like, what was it, 70-some? 73 to 79% of pay coming from tips, which, yes, might not be good. Why? Look right below Favor. That is GoPuff. GoPuff is a centrally based warehouse side hustle. So I go to my GoPuff warehouse. It's like a little mini convenience store. Customers can order. I can get like tissues, Gatorade, Band-Aids, and pet food in the GoPuff warehouse. They just carry stuff. It's a convenience store. You go, you pick it up at the GoPuff warehouse. and I get like 1 to 3 or more drops, customer orders, load in the bags, and I go make my delivery. But then I have to come back to the GoPuff warehouse. Don't focus so much on that, but focus on their pay structure. So the pay structure, the reason GoPuff is up there as well is because they pay less in base pay, which makes you rely more on tips. I do not love those kind of platforms. And this is why it's bad, because you are at the whim, the mercy, if you will, of customers, either A, tipping you enough, so that's tip frequency, and then average tip. So you better hope both of them come through on Favor, on GoPuff, and these other apps proportionately. The more you have to rely on tips, hopefully you're getting tip frequency, how much are the customers tipping, and then average tip amount. If you can get that stuff, if the customers in your marketplace are doing that, you can make some good money. But the reason why, I've ranked a lot of these side hustles, you can get a free copy of my rankings guide at yourdrivermight.com/bundle. That is for free, ranking at a high level, a general level. If you want more detail, get our starter guide. But at the very least, check out Gridwise to link your apps at least. They have a free version. Why not? And if the paid option is right for you, I'd do it. Don't be hesitant on that. Maximize your income. But I don't like GoPuff because of that. I was getting paid $3 per drop plus tips, and you only rely on tips. Okay. And I actually pulled this from Favor. Favor says their base pay is $2 to $14 plus. That's high. DoorDash is $2 to $10. It doesn't matter if every 99% of orders are $2. Appreciate the super chat from King DoorDash. We did a video featuring that 10,000 plus delivery dasher, King DoorDash, on our first shift series. Appreciate you being here. And for that super chat. Yeah. Now, other drivers like Jarrett there may say, hey, I do Favor. I love it. Excellent. If it's working for you, keep doing it. Lean into it. If, like Jarrett and others are saying, hey, it's working for me, keep doing it. That is exactly why this data is just one data point. And even myself here, I'm one person to consider as you consider your own marketplace. So let's ask this next in the live chats, or you can just comments in the replay. Do you multi-app? So multi-app is defined below. Let's start that poll. You can vote in the live chat right now. We're defining it as you're online with different apps at the same time. Okay? Vote on our live chat right now. That's going to be up for 60 seconds. Or just comment in the comments down below if you're watching in the replay. Do you go online with different apps at the same time? Now, keep in mind, you're only accepting offers from one platform at a time. So what that looks like is I'm online with DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats. That's food delivery, multi-apping. So I'm online. They're all looking for orders, right? They're all looking for orders, and then DoorDash gets an order. So everyone else is looking for orders, and I'm looking at the offer card on DoorDash, and then Uber Eats will get one. So I'm making a decision. What's the best? Maybe I'll decline them both. And maybe they both go back to looking for orders, and then DoorDash gets one. Once I select an offer, I'll go offline, I'll pause my dash, I'll become unavailable with the other ones. That's multi-apping. I'm online with different apps at the same time, albeit, because of the terms of service, you can get deactivated if you're exceptionally late on some of these platforms. But, for that reason, I'm only accepting one offer from a platform at one time. So let me know. Do you multi-app? I'm going to close that poll here in just a couple of seconds. Let me know in the live chat or the comment section. Let's see what you said here. And I do multi-app myself. Driving on different apps at the same time and simply selecting the best offer for you. What does that do? It just gets you more choice, simply put. So our results, 60% yes, 40% no. Now, if you're thinking, why don't more people multi-app? 60-40, yes to no. The data from Gridwise here is pretty revealing. Let's now talk about multi-apping. This is very interesting what Gridwise says about multi-apping. So they say 74% of gig drivers stick with a single platform. 26% engage in multi-apping. Now they define it as multi-apping is defined as having worked for more than one platform in a given month. So they're spreading it out even further. They say, okay, well, do you at least drive or work on a different platform in a month? We'll say that. So that is why their numbers are slightly higher than ours. Ours was 60-40. Theirs is 74-26 split. So they're saying, hey, do you at least drive on a different platform? Okay, cool. Now, when you look in the micro for individual shifts, they say that's even stronger. So what they're saying is, well, when you do go drive, like on Tuesday, you go to drive on Thursday, just on these single shifts, 89% relied on one service, 9.7% relied on two services, and just 1% used 3 or more apps simultaneously. I think that data is fantastic, and I think that shows us there's a real opportunity in the multi-apping space. If 89% of workers are just using one app whenever they go out for their respective shifts, they are missing out on a massive opportunity to give you more offers. Like I just said, if I'm just on with DoorDash, there's just one app cycling. Oh, here's an offer, $2. No. And we're back to waiting. And that's going to do so much more for you, at least in my opinion, drive in a way that's comfortable for you. If you're starting, I want you to start with one app first and get comfortable with it, then scale. But if DoorDash is running, now I have Uber Eats running. I look like I'm, right? I look silly, but Uber Eats has an offer, and then DoorDash has an offer, and then Grubhub. See, these are more choices for you when you're online. But let's continue with the data here. Loyalty. Here's that graphically. When we're talking about niches here, the percent of drivers loyal to one service in a given month. This is fascinating. And again, shout outs to Gridwise for partnering on this video to bring this data to you. 52% of drivers only, they might multi-app, but they're only doing food delivery in a month. They're loyal to the niche, not necessarily the app, but the niche. Do you do that? Are you loyal to a niche? You're like, well, I'll go online, but man, I don't really go online with my groceries offers, or I don't go online with my Parcel like Bungee and Roadie. Like I have it, or Walmart Spark. Like, man, I have it, but I don't really go online unless I need to. How loyal are you to a niche? Only 16% work multiple service types. Fascinating. And you know what? I kind of fall in that. Because look, 52% are loyal to food delivery. 26% are loyal to rideshare. Why? Because Uber also cross platforms to Uber Eats. So Uber drivers are more likely to drive food delivery as well. So they may fall into the 16% mix because they're like, well, rideshare is slow. Let me just toggle on Uber Eats. But conversely, if you do DoorDash, if you have an Uber Eats Pro profile, which is only food delivery, and then you have Grubhub, it's a completely different thing to get activated and say, well, I'm going to do rideshare. It's a completely different thing. So that's why half of gig workers are loyal to food delivery, and they stay on food delivery. 26% rideshare and 16% mixed. Now, I want to finish today's video. And again, this is part 2. A lot of data and great insight. I hope you're getting value in this video. Drop a like, consider subscribing. This is part 2 of a 3-part series going into this gig economy data. That's new data. It's updated data. going into 2025, but let's finish with some gig economy milestones. Like, why do people love DoorDash? Let me show you this first. Why do people love DoorDash? So this is talking about the percent of drivers now in each app that have multi-apps in that month. So again, percent of drivers in each service that are multi-apped. So Grubhub drivers are multi-apping a lot, the most, followed by Uber Eats drivers, followed by Lyft, etc. 30% of Dashers are actually multi-apping. Why do people love DoorDash? You know, little spoiler alert, in that free rankings guide, you can get right here for free. I ranked DoorDash as the #1 side hustle. It was at least 2 years in a row, if not 3, at least 2, because of their agility, because of them trying things for Dashers and workers. And that's all like my own thoughts and research, not compensated in any way from these companies. But back to Gridwise's data, why is only 30% of Dashers multi-apping? It's because they're loyal to DoorDash for some reason. Now, Gridwise says, well, actually, first, let me show you this. I pulled this. This is from 2022, I believe. It's a little bit dated, but this is from DoorDash's official blog. And they detailed how fluid Dashers were with being active. So now looking in the middle, it says highly active. So DoorDash, what they did is they looked at a specific quarter, a 3-month segment, and they said, okay, let's take a look at highly active Dashers. But then their data showed, well, the next quarter, you can see 33%. If you look at the top right there, would dash less than 10 hours. 62%, looking at the middle right, they remained highly active. And then 6%, they didn't even dash at all. Whereas in the previous quarter, you can see the data that 27% were dashing less. 70% remained highly active, and then 2% did not dash at all. So the amount of hours that Dashers were putting in quarter to quarter, there's some consistency. 62%, 70% were still, highly active. Previous quarter, current quarter, in the following quarter. So DoorDash is doing something right. Dashers are continuing to dash between quarters. They're multi-apping less. Let's see if we can find out why. This is what Gridwise said. And I added my own notes in here because I didn't agree with some of this. Again, this is why you're watching, just to add a little bit more flavor to this. So Gridwise said, DoorDash's incentives, including peak pay bonuses, delivery challenges, and the Top Dasher program, build loyalty by offering consistent earnings and priority access to orders. Do you agree with that? Is that why Dashers are staying active on the platform? Is that why Dashers tend to multi-app less, at least based on Gridwise's data? It's because of the peak pay bonuses, delivery challenges, Top Dasher program. Does that build loyalty to you? If not, what does? If you find, please, share with me in the live chat or the comment section. If you do most of your gig work on DoorDash, why? There's gotta be a reason. Why? No, I added here, well, they cite peak pay bonuses. Yeah, but peak pay is kind of decreasing. Delivery challenges. I literally just did a video on a 20 delivery, $200 Dasher delivery challenge. Gotta watch that video after this one. But that's super rare. I mean, I've gotten 2 Dasher challenges. It can't be challenges. Some of us, you rarely get a Dasher challenge. The Top Dasher program, that's been discontinued. They've rolled that into Dasher rewards since what? I think 2023. Yeah, mid 2023 is when they started Dasher rewards. Now it's basically nationwide. Now they're actually moving into overall Dasher rating, which is basically V2, I call it. Well, it's got to be the consistent earnings. I mean, dude, have you dashed recently? Now, I still like DoorDash because of the pay. I like their order volume. Their new verticals are excellent, just more opportunities, different earnings modes now, earn by time. But it's far from consistent earnings. I mean, you can drive Thursday to Sunday, busiest days, 5 until 9 p.m., like dinner rush. That would best set you up for success during the dinner rush, but still there's no guarantee. DoorDash has even shown data that communicates Friday to Friday can vary widely. Friday to the next Friday can vary widely. Even at the same restaurant, they've shown data Friday to Friday. You know this. If you work in the food space, you know this. Typically Fridays or whatever, Saturday, whatever day, it should be busy, but then maybe you'll get like a random Tuesday when it's slammed. That's just kind of customer behavior. You can predict some stuff. Moving on. Well, it's got to be DoorDash's earn by time and earn per order options. Okay, I agree a little bit there. You have both earn by time and earn per offer now. Fine. More options. Now, Uber Eats is piloting their flat rates. So it's coming, but that's not like nationwide yet, flat rates. Okay, well, drivers on DoorDash achieve higher overall weekly incomes despite lower hourly wages. Third sentence there, despite lower hourly wages compared to other food delivery platforms, drivers on DoorDash achieve higher weekly incomes. And I put on there, the only way to do that is to drive more hours. That's not really a great stat. Like if you're earning more overall compared to other platforms, but hourly is down, the only way you can do it is to drive more hours. So people might just be turning to DoorDash for whatever reason, or the ones that are already on DoorDash are just driving more. Because I mean, people need the extra money. So like, well, I don't want to drive more hours. Some might not even realize they're driving more hours. And then at the end there, platforms like Uber Eats leverage their integration with Uber Mobility. This allows drivers to switch easily between rideshare and food delivery, and likely contributes to higher multi-apping percentages. Like I just mentioned in that chart that we just saw, Uber and Uber Eats drivers are obviously multi-apping because they can cross-platform. Now, let's get into the milestones. I mentioned milestones prior. I jumped the gun a little bit there. Now, let's finish with milestones and what they mean. Just some interesting things to see here, like this. The highest fare, a $1,700 fare, the most expensive rideshare journey, 283 miles from LA to Vegas, May 14th, 2024. Would you take that run? Now, I don't know if that's what the customer paid. It says fare instead of like driver pay. So I'm assuming that's the actual fare, like what the customer paid. But well, I would need some pay. So imagine it's like 280 miles. Say it paid $2 a mile. Say it's going to pay like $600. Okay, for easy math, we'll pretend it's 300 miles, $600. The only thing with these larger distance runs is the drive back. So before you take any like cross-state runs or 3-hour runs, it's fine. You're getting paid. Like I've done up to like an hour-ish long runs when I did rideshare. It's super easy because you're just driving. You know that you're getting paid more. Just consider the drive back. So on an hour run, you're fine. That's not too bad. 2 hours, you're starting to get pretty far away. I can go to like central PA, 2 hours away from Pittsburgh. You have destination filters, yes. So I can set my destination back home and try to get rides back home. But just consider empty miles. And I'm betting, I'm thinking that might be a music festival out in Vegas that I typically go to. If you know what's going on mid-May, I'm pretty sure that was someone going to EDC, but I digress. Looking at the largest tip, $200 basically, $196 4 Uber rides are tied for the year's largest tip. Washington, D.C., New York City, Dallas, and Albuquerque. Okay, $200 tip. Pretty nice. Now, let's also look at this data here from Gridwise. Largest tip in food delivery now, $346.44 during an Uber Eats order. And then the largest tip in grocery, $312. Now, I was wondering, what's the most you can tip? I was thinking about that. What is the most you can tip here? So I asked, and I guess the first result, at least on Google, said, well, on DoorDash, this is a little dated. It's 2022. It said you can tip $30 maximum or 200% of the subtotal, whichever is higher. So yeah, you could probably tip more than $300. So if it's a 200% of the subtotal, that means these would have to be $150 orders. So I would be able to tip $300 if my order total was $150, if I'm allowed to tip 200%, right? Now, and then of course we go to reliable chat GPT, and that updated. GPT said the maximum tip you can leave is 100% of the subtotal or $500 on DoorDash. So very interesting to see here. Now here's some more data here. Most apps worked in a week. Have you worked more than 9 different services, platforms in a week? That actually is the same record for 9 services in a month. And it's funny, like, I feel, do you have to take an offer or would you just be online? Because I got like 16 gig apps on my phone right now. I could go online right now and I could beat 9 services. I wasn't a Gridwise user. Now that I am, taking a look at it for you, make sure to check them out. Click that link in the pinned comment of the description. That I could break that if we're just talking about going online. But taking an offer, I could still take an offer, right? Most orders in a week, 434. Most orders delivered in a month, 1,634. November 2024 in New York City. I get it, because in New York City, you could be on foot, you can be on a bike, on a scooter. You could really bang out some volume in New York City. Pretty interesting. So coming up in part 3, folks, this report is going to conclude. Don't miss part 3 here from Gridwise, going over how events shape your earnings, how weather affects your earnings, and most important that I'm looking forward to in part 3 here, how consumer behavior, interesting, affects your earnings. Today, we talked about all types of pay, base pay, bonus pay, tips. We went over milestones. We went over the one-to-one apps, everything related to pay. But this also relates to pay. So that's going to be in part 3. I'll leave the entire series linked for you in the description. Don't miss that. But I want to hear what you're saying here. So hang with me for our Q&A section. If you're watching in the replay, if you have any questions, just put it right down there in the comment section.